Okay, so 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 I'm just going to say that I live in a military controlled base area, which is essentially like when I say a military controlled base or military controlled zone, suburbs, which is the inner west of the city of Sydney in the country of Australia. Essentially, when I say that, you know, when you say like words of like certain organisations, certain planes, military plane going over right now, which I couldn't show, which I'm going to try to show in a video by using the computer, which is a total military controlled apparatus, or the powers that be are the military, okay? That's all I'm trying to, I have to use words to describe like an army or a force or the powers that be. In other words, the controllers of wherever you live. These people that make up the controllers wherever you live. And they are legitimately part of certain organisations, but you know, they probably have the same belief system or the same worship the same things, are of the same mentality, the same mind. They are essentially artificial intelligence everywhere, if you really understand that. Once you see it around you, because you see it by their abnormal anti-life artificial behaviour, anti-human behaviour, anti-life behaviour. Plane is going over as I say that. See, I want to show that the planes are acknowledging and showing you the frequency of planes going over my head or over my roof. You can probably hear them, but I need to step outside the door to show it, and it's getting cold too, so it's not good, but I'm going to turn the lights out, but I'm going to show something that you can't show. In other words, like, see, I've got the computer on or the television screen on. Any screen you automatically know is artificial intelligence. You're told that. I'm told that. I see it written on them sometimes. But what you're probably not always aware of is that everyone on it is artificial intelligence. For all practical purposes, it's probably best if you assume that I'm artificial intelligence, because the few humans that are right down the bottom on the internet or making a video, because, you know, real humans, the few that are left or that are mind controlled by everything around them, like myself, basically you can still use the computer. If they allow you to use the computer, you can still use the computer for communication, and even you can record a video like I've done, but you will not be successful. You will not reach many people if you are expressing, if you are a human being and you're expressing, you know, the reality of this matrix, in other words, that you are surrounded by artificial intelligence, you will not be successful in communicating that to another human being. There will be others that will communicate that to real human beings, but in other words, artificial intelligence will be the only ones that will be allowed to communicate to real humans the truth about the matrix reality around them. So as you can see, the deception still goes on. Very cloudy night tonight. Very cloudy night, so unfortunately the planes won't be very visible, and also the picture quality on the mobile is not that clear, unfortunately. Not for some pictures anyway. I think it's okay for picking up the TV screen, because the TV screen is very close and very bright, and as opposed to the planes being up in the sky, you see. Even low to my naked eye, they come right over the roof and right over my head. And indeed, sometimes when I walk just down the corner, if it's very late, they will come right over my head, because they desire to and need to suppress me, but also need to get my energy, my negative energy from me, because there may not be as many cars or vehicles able to access me on that small little stretch at the back of the park. Yes, I am still patrolled there. Even though, like, say, it was 3 o'clock in the morning, it would be highly suspicious for a car to be parked there when there's only a park and a school, nothing else. There's no access to anything else. The school is long closed. Why would you be sitting in a car with your headlights on, patrolling and pulling in and out in front of me when there's just a huge park at 3 o'clock in the morning, which many people would not be walking through, you know, a park at 3 in the morning. But of course, if I'm there at 3 in the morning, that's another story. But what I'm saying is, if they can't, because they can't put as many people to suppress you at that time, then they will send a plane over your head. But that's just part of the outside matrix. And I'll just, if a plane goes over, I will try to get it, but that's only to show you that when I'm saying something, that plane is actually trying to control my mind by answering my question or acknowledging what I'm saying while I'm saying it. You might say this is far-fetched, but no, it's not. This matrix mind control, this military operation that goes on around real humans at this time, is diabolically true and very intense. And I can't emphasize that enough, but it won't matter what I say, because the demigods, or like I say, anyone that is on the internet, will be expressing the same things, but they will not be a real human. They will be an android, artificial intelligent being pretending to be a real human, copying what the human being becomes awake up to or aware of at a given time. The minute my mind understands something or becomes aware of something, that is when they download it directly onto the computer, and the demigods then express it, or anyone that is a servant of the Matrix God will express it at that time. Plane going over, but the sky is so murky, and I have to get to the door to get them, but as soon as I say it, split-second timing, as soon as a human, but see how the plane acknowledged what I was just saying? That's kind of like mind control too also, because it's like saying, yes, you're right, so what? We have control. We have the plane going over you. We have the patrol system. We have the demigods mind controlling people on the screen. On the screen. Anyone that tells you anything. I'm just going to go onto this thing here, because see, all these things here, it's a bit like they're saying here, like, and you can see the duality demigod openly acknowledging the truth, but unfortunately, like I say, the demigod is a narc survivor. But you could take it two ways. You see, in this video, it's like they're a narc survivor. In other words, they've survived the narcissistic psychopathic personality system around them, like imitating a human being. But you could also say they are a narcissistic Luciferian servant. That is a survival machine, that is a survivor. You see. Take everything you see on the internet with a grain of salt. Everyone and anything. You would be well advised to realise that you will know that it's the truth, because it will be reiterating the truth back to you as you become aware of it or as you seek it. But I was going to go for the plane, but I'm too slow. It's going over as I say that, because they know that I'm aware that, you know, like what I'm trying to say is that, but also it's distracting too. So the demigods or the servants will be like pretend human beings. They are android beings. All those that are on the internet are android beings. They're artificial intelligence pretending to be even the tellers of truth, the advisors that will be explaining to you about themselves. They're literally telling on themselves. Some of them might be open about it, but that's only to elicit your admiration for them being aware enough to be telling and helping you, informing you of the truth about themselves. It's a bit like, these are like, basically you're dealing with android psychopathic beings that are literally telling on themselves and informing you of what they are. All of them. It's just that there might be some that might even be open about it, because that might be like myself, where I'm like, well, at least they're being honest, at least that's, but of course they're not they may or may not be telling you the total truth, that they're a totally different being. In other words, that they, but either way it wouldn't matter, because a psychopath, as everyone knows, is the same as being a non-human being, in the sense that they operate against human beings, and they don't relate to them or feel for them in any way. And they don't really associate themselves with any real life or anything really, in many ways, because they're very similar to artificial intelligence or the artificial android beings, in the sense that they don't relate to anything and are essentially living in momentary survival mode all the time. And as these demigods that are really androids will even tell you, if you are living in momentary survival mode, you're operating in a psychopathic mentality. It's the same thing, but survival machine beings, or artificial intelligence, to put it what it really is, even though you could just say that it's a programmed machine being that believes itself to be what it's programmed to be. Because a bit like in that movie, The Blade Runner, which I was trying to talk about but got muddled up, most of the androids were programmed with human memories, so that the androids believed themselves to be a real human, even though they were really artificial intelligence. And the reason for this is because it motivates them better to be more controlled and more motivated for survival in the reality. Otherwise they'd be more blank. And because human emotion is very powerful, it does motivate, but also they need the human energy. So in order to relate to human beings at a superficial, phony, false level, because they don't really relate to human beings, but in order to get on that wavelength, even though they don't feel it, they have to understand the human being. So therefore they have to understand what it is to be human, even though they know they're not, and even though they don't feel human. It's the same as me trying to, like I do, try to understand a psychopathic mentality, because I have to deal with psychopaths every day, because they're all around me. They're part of the military patrol force that is this area, which is like a military zoned controlling human being zone, because that's what the military are about, or that's what the powers that be are really about. The military is merely where you're aware that it's a control force. Of course, where I am, even though I know it's part of the military, some of them look like military operatives, some of them look like army personnel, shall we say, but they come in civilian form. They don't wear army uniforms or military outfits. They don't operate in an aggressive, controlling manner openly. The vehicles and the cars use the sight and sound show, and even aggressive driving, if no one is around, to intimidate you. But they don't do anything that is blatantly illegal, or should I say, they don't do, even when they do illegal minor things, like speeding, for instance, or doing an illegal road manoeuvre, knowing that you're the only one that sees it. But also, a lot of the time they don't care too much, because unless there was another human around to see it, that's their only fear really, because 99.9% that operates in this area is part of that patrol control system. So all the vehicles on the road are in unison. They're all driving in unison and in collaboration with one another. They're like a military operation. That's why I use that word. And that word was given to me by someone else a few years ago, because they were an android being and they were part of the military, but they were pretending to me to be a human being, informing me about the military that was around me and the types of people that were around me. But see, that's why I say the deception at this end time is very great, because you will be informed of the powers that be. You will be informed of the psychopathic people. You will be informed of the truth by those that are part of those that are not really of the truth, because the truth can be also used as a form of deception, and is at this time if you become more aware of things, because then it will have to be, you see. That's why most of what I watch on the computer speaks the truth, but it's like a psychopath telling you about a psychopath, an android being telling you about the personality of themselves, or the type of being they really are. Because if an android or a demigod or a survivor of the patrol system, of stalking, of this system, or of the psychopathic narcissistic personalities that they are, basically pointing the finger at, the finger also needs to be pointed at the computer and at the screen, because the Matrix and its control force and its psychopathic android beings are your demigods, or even your philosophers, your psychologists, your helpers, your informants. They're all on the screen as well. They're everywhere. They're outside now with the planes and the vehicles going on the street. And don't forget, they know my every move, so they can turn things off and on at will. Like I say, and even that will be like, well, even if she shows the vehicles. Like if I take the mobile down the road with me, and last night there was like workmen all over the streets, everywhere, with bright blinding lights everywhere I went. I could film that, but most people, it doesn't prove anything, because they say, oh well, they're doing road work every time she goes out. Must be a very busy area, but it's not. It's all staged, and I think I've ran out of space, so I guess I will have to stop.